the core, the root is just that right there. So if you can solve that problem of cellular stress, you not only beat chronic illness, but you set yourself up for perpetual wellness.
Very often we think we're going on a journey to help a loved one, a family member, somebody in our lives, and it ends up really being our own healing journey. Welcome to Bioenergetics Beat, the podcast where frequency meets wellness stories and spark healing, and energy shifts everything. I'm Miriam, and today we're doing something a little different because it's our 100th episode. Before we dive into today's celebration, I want to take a moment to recognize someone that has truly been the voice and heartbeat of Bioenergetics Beat. Heather Gray is a masterful interviewer, a frequency-forward wellness advocate, and someone who brings both clarity and compassion to every conversation she leads. Over the years, she's helped shape this podcast into more than just a show. She's helped make it a trusted space for real stories, deep healing, and high-frequency living. Heather, you've guided conversations with such warmth and wisdom, giving our community a place to feel seen, heard, and inspired. Guests have felt valued because your thoughtful questions, and listeners return again and again because your compassion and your authenticity. Reaching 100 episodes is a milestone worth celebrating. What truly makes this moment shine is you. Your voice, your heart, and your presence have carried us here. It's an honor to celebrate this milestone with you today. On behalf of everyone who has listened, learned, and found hope through Bioenergetics Beats, thank you. We wouldn't be here without you, Heather. So please join me in welcoming our fabulous Heather Gray.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever blushed and then been on the verge of tears at the same time. I had no idea that was coming. And thank you. And thank you for reminding me, because sometimes when we get further down the line, sometimes I forget, right, why we do some of the things that we do. And so to have that reminder, and you put it so eloquently, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you.
Worked
Thank
really
you.
hard, because I remember when this podcast was just a glimpse of an idea, and here we are 100 episodes in. And Heather, I truly think that you don't realize how many questions we get from some of the guests that you've had, and we've had amazing guests. And one of the things about how we've reached this 100th episode is obviously you don't just talk the talk, you've walked the walk. And I think that's what really resonates with the listeners of the podcast is they're not just empty words. It's from your heart, it's from your experience. And I think that's what makes it so special. So is there anything you do to prepare for an episode recording?
This is going to sound horrible, but not really, because I kind of like to be surprised along with everybody else. I got lucky enough being a part of Mindshare and a couple other really big name networking events in this space. And so a lot of these folks I have a personal relationship with, a lot of them I don't. And the ones that I don't, I kind of like finding out about them just along right side you guys, right? So, right alongside the listeners, right? Because there's nothing more that I can't stand. Is this something that sounds overly rehearsed and scripted and read, boring.
Yeah, I think that's what makes some of the episodes really unique is because you know who the guest is coming on, but then your questions come from your own curiosity, or you're playing off one of the things that somebody has said. Like my favorite thing is I remember when Bernadine just started, and I love because she'll do the closed captioning before the podcast goes live. And I love when all of a sudden the girls have stopped their chattering in the office. And then all of a sudden, all these questions are coming up. And you could tell they're researching what they've just listened to. I cannot tell you how many times we've had to order a supplement or some other wellness tool of somebody that you've had on the show that they can't stop talking about. And so part of this episode that we're going to be doing is we're going to be sharing some of your favorite guests, some of the team's favorite guests, some of our customers' favorite guests. So in celebration of the 100th episode, because you're already working on your next 100 episodes, do you have any future bucket list guests that you want to try and get on the show?
Oh my gosh, always Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, some of the really, really, because I've had some big names, but there's even like some of the bigger names that I've, followed for a long time. But yeah, so, and I don't know how to reach those folks because even in the networking that I've done, there's just, they're not usually there or they're not accessible. So they're a little harder to get to.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, for the most part, this last year, I definitely did interview the majority of a lot of my heroes. Lynn
Yes.
McTaggart we had on, that was huge. And,
Yes.
Catherine Clinton was another big one. And her episode is still like ranking at one of the top ones that we have. And so it'll be interesting to see how the second year or how the second 100 is going to look compared to the first 100, because like I said, the first 100 was a lot of my own personal connections, personal heroes.
They
So
were good. Like you had Dr. Richard Horowitz, you had like Fred Diamond, like so many good people in the Lyme community, like amazing, amazing guests. And it's funny because there's like Dr. Horowitz, that's a podcast we send out all the time. And
awesome.
it's interesting because there's ones that we refer to a lot. And it's just like there's just something that resonates with customers, right? Like, or even just somebody going through a Lyme journey, and they just need, as you know, like the Lyme community is so small, and you've had these amazing pillars of the Lyme community on the podcast that if you're new to watching, go back and watch some of these podcasts with these guests that Heather has had, because some of these guests are not easy guests to have, and we will have some snippets of them coming on later on in the show. Yeah, like, so here's to another 100 episodes, Miss Heather. I'm
Absolutely.
excited.
Absolutely. Can I tell the little story of how this all started?
Absolutely.
It was Steven who was on my podcast at the time. And I didn't know much about your guys' technology,
Yeah.
except the fact that it would come up across my thing every now and then, and I would dismiss it because the price was so low. And the frequency machines that I worked with were $10, $20, $30,000 machines. And I was like, there's no way this $1,500 machine works. So I would dismiss it. I would dismiss it. And then it came up a third time, and I was like, okay, God, I'm listening. So then I reached out, and I couldn't quite get through. At the time, the gatekeeper was a pretty hardcore gatekeeper. She was doing her job, but almost a
Yeah.
little too good.
Yep.
But I finally got through. I didn't give up. Had him on the show. By the end of the show, I had fallen in love with him and the product. I hadn't even tried the product yet, but
Yeah.
just followed in love with him, and was like, I don't know how. I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs don't ask to work for people. But I was like, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know why, but I feel like I need to be a part of this organization. Can you find a way to make me a part of this organization? He's like, I feel the same way about you. I don't know either. Give me a minute. And it took
Yeah.
about a month for him to come back and go, we would really love you to head up our podcast.
I remember when that happened, because he was like, we should do a podcast. I'm like, not it. Like, not it. And he's like, no, I think it'd be good. I'm like, nope. And then he's like, oh, I met Heather. And I was like, oh, who's Heather? And then we're like looking. And then I remember when his podcast aired, because when he's on people's podcasts like yourself, like, you get an uptick in questions or orders, and you're like, okay, like what just happened here? And there was just magic that happened in that first episode. And then shortly after, I think you hosted our first big event for Lyme
Yeah, absolutely.
awareness. Heather, you use Nikki in your daily life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you want to end with telling us what your favorite wellness program is and why?
These days it's detox mold. I run every day because I live in a very humid climate that's very notorious for mold. And I don't have my other hacks here, like my sauna, even though I sweat so much here, I don't think I need a sauna. The coffee enemas, I'm not doing as much. So the detox is huge, the mold is huge, and then I'm running inflammation on a regular basis because when I did my last function wellness lab panel, which is amazing, it's incredible, but the only things that showed up on it that were out were some inflammatory markers. So how amazing is it that I can
Pretty awesome.
help that with a little tap of the button, or with some of the stress that I've been going through with a divorce, a cat dying, and moving to a new country. I've been using a lot of the new one, the vagus nerve. Like, it's so
Yes.
amazing, helping keep my nervous system in rest and digest and out of fight or flight.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's such a great program. And okay, so thank you so much, Heather. We look forward to seeing you in the next 100 episodes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome.
God bless you guys. Yay.
Bye. Now that Heather and I have kicked things off, we're shifting the mic to you. For this special episode, we invited our listeners and customers, as well as our team members, to share the moments that moved them the most. The words, insights, and frequencies that stayed with them long after the episode ended. From breakthroughs on wellness journeys to simple sparks of joy, these stories are what keep the bioenergetics beat alive. So settle in and enjoy this collection of yours and our favorite moments, lovingly gathered from the community that what makes this podcast what it is. Our first collection of moments is all about self-care, gentle reminders and practical steps that help us recharge, find balance, and stay connected to ourselves. These are stories that inspired many of you to pause, breathe, and make space for your own well-being.
Is knowing how to support my body to be its best.
Mic drop. That's awesome.
Been on this path. I've been on my own health journey since birth, but in alternative medicine for 32 years. And I've been a practitioner for 23. And what I can tell you is it still comes down to the basics. And I love me some biohacks. But if we're not drinking water, sleeping, getting our free electrons from the earth, the sunshine, just to drive home that point that you had, we're basically trying to put Band-Aids over holes, right, that are just pouring out water, and it doesn't really work. And our biology doesn't lie.
And what it boils down to is, wellness, health doesn't come from a doctor's office. It comes from inside of you. And, when you tap into that, that's really important.
Yeah, allow yourself to feel your feelings, and it's, actually dipping into them deeper. But with the space being held internally, like a wise one self that's like, it's okay, this will pass. I am strong. And I just have to allow for all of this emotion to pass through. And it's going to be just great, because the me that's me is still the me that's underneath.
Fulfilling their potential as human beings. I really think that's the essence of it, because everybody knows that they have a superhero, a genius, an amazing, brilliant part of themselves that's gifted. And I think it's really hard for people to access that, because we have a lot of noise in our signals from trauma, from intergenerational trauma, from cultural trauma. And so many people are stuck, I would say. I think that's the biggest thing that I've treated, really, is stuckness, and help to get people. I say that I'm a bioelectrician, and I rewire that 95% of your subconscious mind that sabotages you to help bring it into a neutral, aligned, integrated way, so that you have all of your self available to you.
People who have trauma, they can't just decide not to have trauma. The part that decides to not have trauma would be, amongst other things, like the default mode network or the prefrontal, and it can try really hard to not have trauma. I'll just spiritually bypass. But the parts that are experiencing the trauma are back in the reptilian brain, like the cerebellum, which is even deeper than the amygdala. The cerebellum is giving a huge amount of information to the two amygdala, to the insula, right? So those are so primitive that we can't actually just talk them out of it. Because if emotions were something that we could talk ourselves out of, they would be thoughts, right? And the thoughts and the emotions are totally different in the brain. They are not the same. So I encourage you and everybody, like, we can keep on running. We can keep trying to not feel our feelings. We have endless amounts of places that we can be addicted in our phone alone, not to mention in workaholism, not to mention in TV or other substances or whatever it is that people might find their way to. But so it takes a very brave and courageous choice. So I commend you for taking a hot minute, even if you feel like you crashed out your life. I see it as really, really effective.
And I say this as a doctor and coach of people who are going through healing their own trauma and their own really catastrophic or chronic illness. Very often we think we're going on a journey to help a loved one, a family member, somebody in our lives, and it ends up really being our own healing journey.
A lot of stuff comes down to self-worth, honestly. What I really kind of found at the kernel of every person who is in pain or any kind of dysfunction was some kind of belief that they weren't worthy. And that is an epidemic that practically everybody is suffering from, not feeling good enough. So I know that there's an affirmation, I am enough, but I prefer the affirmation, I am plenty.
Saw a report that somebody pulled together about all the old dogs. A lot of them were eating garbage kibble, but they were outside on the ground. And so that ability to discharge energy that doesn't serve and move and keep things going is a profoundly important part of keeping our pets well and ourselves.
Well, I think the biggest thing that I really discovered that really amazed me and amazed me over and over and over again, and that was when I worked with everybody, when I got the noise out of their signal and I amplified the true tones underneath, what I see is greatness. I see brilliance, I see genius, I see gifts, I see that humans are amazing. And people know that, right? And I have this ability to see very specifically what people's gifts are, how they're amazing, how they're unique, how they're brilliant. And I'll tell them that. And without exception, every single person always kind of looks at me shyly and says, I knew that, right? So we know that we have that brilliance and that giftedness inside. And so it's so important that you believe in that and that you do the work to get there. And frequency, whether it's my tuning forks or your little device or, whatever the different technologies that are out there, can really help you to realize that potential and bring those gifts to the world. So believe in yourself and believe that you can get there.
Search has always been for what is the zenith of simplicity and sophistication. I've always been looking for that one thing. Steve Jobs said, and Da Vinci said, that the greatest sign of sophistication is simplicity. So my search led me far and wide. I tried and learned all kinds of different techniques and things. And what I realized that the simplest thing, the answer to many of our chronic health challenges and acute health challenges is literally right under our nose, and it's how we breathe.
Our next collection of moments focuses on Lyme. Living with Lyme disease can feel overwhelming, but these stories shine a light on hope and possibility. From personal breakthroughs to encouraging words, each clip we gathered offers comfort, practical inspiration, and a reminder that you're not alone on this path. Let these voices bring a bit of positivity and support to everyone navigating life with Lyme.
Would never wish this illness upon anybody, not even my very worst enemy. But it really did bring me, I feel like, my true purpose in life, which is health, wellness, advocating for others, really deeply wanting to see a change in this system for people, even outside of those living with Lyme and tick-borne disease. Everyone with a chronic debilitating illness or rare disease is struggling, and it's not their fault. It's the system, and it's the lack of compassion, lack of understanding, and within the medical system, the lack of physicians and specialists being willing to look outside of the box when they can't fit you in this neat little box with your symptoms, that leads to lack of accurate diagnosis and so on and so forth. And in this period of really not being able to work and not being able to get out of bed, I even then, I struggle to sit still. I struggle to not have a project. And that's who I am to this day, even when I don't feel well.
Make more than just bears. I make little limettes. It's a Lyme spirochete. It's spiral shaped. The bacteria that causes Lyme is spiral shaped like a worm, a little corkscrewy worm. And this little bacteria can change forms. It can roll itself into a little ball, a cyst, or can secrete a slime around it, a biofilm, to make it hide and protect itself. That's how I started making my little limettes. People make crocheted acts of kindness. I make crocheted acts of awareness, and I've handed them out and hidden them around for people to find because I think people need to know. And the bacteria has a 28-day life cycle. So it's a sneaky little thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sneaky little thing that does a lot of damage.
Attached to it because it is very real and it is very varying degrees debilitating for people. That's annoying as heck for people to dismiss it. So that's a mental health element is too, is you start feeling like you shouldn't say anything. And then that community gets smaller because you don't have the support because or for me, I was like, well, I guess I won't be too open about it because these people are, not as receptive. That's changing. It's the same with depression. If you tell people you're depressed, they'll be like, oh, just smile. What have you got to be
Yeah.
depressed about? That's a whole other conversation.
If you have Lyme or a tick-borne disease and you are struggling or you feel isolated, please just know that you are not alone. There are a lot of people out there like you. Look for communities. I know Heather mentioned it earlier. I'm lucky enough to sit on the board of Project Lyme, right? And they help fund support groups like places through Generation Lyme. And there's a really, really strong Instagram hub of patients. So like search the hashtag Lyme disease hashtag and send DMs and connect with other people. And I've found some of my very, very dearest friends through this community that I'm so grateful for. So if you're feeling alone, send me a message. Look on Instagram for people. There's people that want to support you and want to connect. So just don't lose hope. And I'm proof 9 years later, that you can get healthy. It takes some time, and that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. So anyway, just wanted to share that.
And we have different chronic illnesses because we have different cells in the body and different microbes infect different cells. And so it manifests in different ways. But the core, the root is just that right there. So if you can solve that problem of cellular stress, you not only beat chronic illness, but you set yourself up for perpetual wellness.
To fight, you can't give up. You have to fight. You have to be a bulldog and get out there and fight. And if one thing isn't working, hunt for another. There are no doctors. We have such a shortage in this country. Talk to the naturopath, talk to whoever.
Yes.
You just have to keep hunting and digging. And it's not just one thing that leads to wellness. It's always a combination of things. And that's where the NIKKI and the Wave 1 come in because they do help. No quick fix.
Touched on this at the beginning, but what I generally like to wrap up with is just the idea of not losing hope. These are not easy conditions. They do challenge us. They push us to our boundaries, but they also allow us to grow. I am more hopeful now than ever in this realm. I think we have an evolving understanding of the underlying factors that we need to think about. Years ago, we weren't talking about mast cell activation. Years ago, we weren't talking about SIBO. So the puzzle pieces are definitely becoming clearer. And I think there's a lot more research. There's a lot more that's happening in this realm. So I think it's just so important for people to know that as much as you may still be in the midst of a struggle, that people can and do recover, improve their lives, and really get back to living a life full of joy and purpose.
NIKKI Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency-enhanced health.
It looks like a little watch, but it's actually a frequency device. It's bioenergetic, so it has this little frequency light situation that goes into your arm.
This is my NIKKI. It is a bioenergetic wearable that works by emitting a specific frequency carried by a red light, as you can see on the back. It's aimed at enhancing the body's natural healing process to improve wellness and reducing stress, pain, and inflammation. And to select a frequency, you tap it to wake it up, and then you slide to the screens that list the different frequencies. I have wellness or Lyme on mine. So if we want to pick one, we just tap on it and you'll see the circles around, and there's a play button, play areas, tap there, and you can see the colors radiating that show that it's playing. And you would also see the red light on the back. And to stop, you just tap it again, and then you can slide and select a different frequency. I'm going to play afternoon. And you just tap, and away you go for your afternoon.
So they're two different things. You have the NIKKI device, and then you have the frequency sets. And so right now they have the wellness set of frequencies and they have the Lyme set of frequencies, and both of them are absolutely incredible. I use both sets on a regular basis, so I absolutely love them.
NIKKI Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency enhanced health. WeAreNIKKI.com.
These wellness moments invite us to care for our mind, body, and spirit, to rest, move, and nourish ourselves in ways that create balance and joy. Whether it's a simple daily practice or a big mindset shift, these reflections remind us that wellness is a journey we can all embrace, one intentional step at a time.
There's a documentary out right now. It's a series called The Blue Zone. I can't.
Yeah,
I want to see it.
This is all observational, looking at groups of people who have long life and low disease, and they're pretty much eating exactly the diet that our genetics would tell us we need to eat, and what I recommend in my books and have been for 20 years. All of these things. And the healthiest people in the world don't eat lots and lots of meat, and they eat some grain, but they don't eat tons of grain, and they eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. And, that's where we ought to be.
But that's one of the toxic areas that we didn't talk about, Heather, is electromagnetic fields in the home. So whether that's Wi-Fi, smart plugs, that kind of stuff, you need to really be cognizant of that. So there are many, many, many reports of people getting these plugs for lamps that connect to your smartphone, and you can turn them on remotely. Awesome, right? Well, they're right at your dog and your cat's head level. And guess what happens when those suckers go on? It makes a lot of pets feel extremely uncomfortable and start having behavioral changes that are just, people are like, oh gosh, what's going on? They take them to the vet, they get put on prescription medicine. And really what it was is the EMF in the home. So be cognizant of that. If your router is sitting just under your television, that's right. Again, that's right where your dog and your cat's head is. So maybe move them, turn them off at night, hardwire stuff in as best you can. And then do things that are going to support helping them feel better and not receive those effects. So grounding everything, having like a PEMF mat or something that they can ground themselves on, get them outside on the grass more frequently. That's one of the amazing things for these dogs that have lived super long lives.
Places where we're missing the forest for the trees, because most people know that their heartbeat is electric, their brain is electric, that their blood carries charge. But most people don't realize that there's an electrical system in its entirety, and we have current running through us all the time. And understanding our electric body, really, it's primary. The biofield is both the electric current running through you and the magnetic field that surrounds it. And this is basic science, because almost everybody knows that anytime you have an electric current running through something, you have a magnetic field around you. That's the aura. And it's all one system. You can't separate the magnetic field from the electric current. And the biofield is what we would call our mind, our conscious and our subconscious mind. But I would even go so far as to say it's the same thing that we call our soul. It is our light body that is biological. And this is where the wiring gets all tangled up from trauma, from being fed a lot of misinformation and lies about what it means to be human.
intrigued me over the past 20 years is just the explosion of science of looking how the chemistry of these plants and mushrooms, for that matter, our medicinal mushrooms, how they affect us at the cellular level. And what they're doing is they're blocking all of the stress factors that cause cellular stress. So when you're doing that, you're not doing it for one cell in the body, you're doing it for every cell in the body. And so, maybe we're taking an herb for helping our heart or helping our liver or whatever, but those herbs are actually helping every cell in the body. So interestingly, recently I was researching milk thistle, which is well known to protect liver cells. And it turns out it has all these other functions that it's been used for, including protecting the cells that reorganize our bones. And it turns out that milk thistle is something that's really important for you to take, especially after menopause, because it protects you from osteoporosis. So this liver herb protects our bones. Wow. And a lot of other things too. And it's because it's protecting cells throughout the body. So that's been my interest in herbs, is recognizing that this complex chemistry that the plants are producing to serve themselves, when we take them in, when we do that, like we were doing hundreds of thousands of years ago when we were eating a forage food diet, we were providing this robust protection from our cells, which has been sorely missing, especially over the past 100 years.
And then another way to think about pain is also is energy, right? That pain is simply places where energy isn't flowing. And so in order to get that energy flowing again and let the body heal so that the pain will go away, we need to energize an area as well. So I like thinking of it on these different levels, because that's who we are. Right? We're not just a physical body that has a mind. We are a spiritual or energetic being that has a mind and has this physical body as our way to navigate and express through, in this incarnation on this physical plane we call Earth.
And that's why, we have to remember the energetics, because we are energy beings, period. We may not seem like it because we don't see it, but we absolutely feel it. And we may be aware of it and we may not. But I know when I'm around a 5G tower, man, I feel it immediately. When I'm around somebody who has negative energy is contagious. You feel it immediately. You may not be able to name it if you're not aware of it, but it's affecting us whether we're aware of it or not. And so that energetic piece is so important.
And most people are all in a bunch and then trying to fix themselves chemically when the issue is really a wiring issue. And when you get into the electrical system and you settle down the noise and you improve the flow, then your voltage increases. And that is really your potential. If you have a lot of your life energy, your current tied up in tension from different traumas, breath holds, contractions, resistances, any kind of growing up in a traumatic environment creates a lot of contraction, which creates a lot of subconscious tension, but that's all in your wiring. And so that tension takes up energy, and it also creates issues in the body. In fact, I've really come to the conclusion that most of what we suffer from is actually tension based. When you think about any kind of disorder that people are suffering from, you can usually trace it to some kind of lock or freeze within the body that's stopping energy and blood and lymph and everything from circulating, because the body will fix itself if it can get into those areas that are out of sorts.
The fact of the matter is, we have to do what our genes dictate for us to do, right? So polar bears can't live in Hawaii. Cactuses can't live in the Amazon because their genes dictate the conditions that are best for that organism. And that comes from whatever that organism has been exposed to for its history.
Things that I've observed is that most, not all, but really most of my clients who came in with physical pain that what was really going on was a suppressed emotion. It was some kind of emotion that they were judging, that they weren't letting themselves feel, they didn't know what to do with. And so emotions are waves. They arise, they move through us, they crest, and then they fall away. But most of us grew up in households where our parents didn't model effective emotional management. and their response to our emotions was to put a lid on it. And most of us have grown up not knowing what to do with our emotions because A, nobody showed us how to do it well, and B, we were just told to stuff it. And so what we see is this epidemic of people with all of these stuffed emotions, and they're trying to be fine, or they're trying to meditate, or they're trying to eat right. But meanwhile, they're just teeming with undigested, unexpressed emotion. It's very often, it's kind of like sound. It's like a trapped sound in us.
Our bodies are designed to be healthy and whole, and that's what they're always striving for. And even something like getting a tumor with cancer, right? It's your body's way of protecting it from not going all over your body. Your body's containing it. And so, I think when your immune system is strong, you're clear, you've got clarity in your vision, clarity of purpose, your energy is strong, and you really you're unlimited. You are absolutely unlimited. And so I think our bodies are always striving to come back into balance. And that's where plants thrive, because you look at nature, right? One year there's a drought, the next year there's a flood, and plants are always adapting. And so they're bringing that adaptive energy to us. And that's where we get out of balance, because we get stuck in our ways, right? I like to drive the same way to the store every time instead of mixing it up. And I've learned a lot that creates these grooves in our brain that are almost like a record. It's much harder to change then. And so really it's about adaptability. And you think about the one constant in our lives is change. Life is always changing. We're always having things thrown at us. And so when the immune system is strong, we're strong, and we can adapt and change and grow and become better versions of ourselves.
And this is my favorite story to tell about the NIKKI. Most people that know me know I am not a good sleeper. I have never been a good sleeper, even since before I got sick. I am absolutely an insomnia. And the first night that I wore the NIKKI, I put it on the insomnia frequency and I was asleep within a half hour, which has never happened to me in my entire life, has never happened to me. So right there, I was kind of like, oh my God, this works. Like this is powerful. And I pretty much have worn it every day since. And I tend to bop between the nighttime and insomnia frequencies. I use a lot of the anxiety and stress frequency because I am naturally a very high strung, like we were saying before, type A anxious person. And it really does help. And when I have like my bad days or I'm on my cycle or whatever it is, you bet that I have that pain frequency like strapped to my wrist like nobody's business.
Next, we honor a true Lyme hero and warrior, Brenda Sterling Goodwin. From her beloved Lyme bears to the cheerful, positive pickle, Brenda never stops lifting spirits and fighting for the Lyme community. Her creativity and determination remind us that courage and joy can thrive even in the hardest seasons. Let's celebrate Brenda's unstoppable spirit and the light she brings to everyone living with Lyme. If you're interested in creating your own Lyme bear, email us at hello@wearenikki.com and we can send you the pattern that Brenda has so graciously given to us.
I had kind of had a dream, and well, actually, in the beginning, a friend of mine made me a large bear, and I named it Lymeer, Lyme bear, fully aware of Lyme disease. And we were visiting at the Magnata Research Center at the University of Guelph, and I felt that the bear needed to live there and spread awareness. And then I had made little bears for the IWK, the Children's Hospital, and I thought I can make little green bears and send them out and spread awareness. So that's what I've done, and they've traveled as far as New Zealand, Australia, the Netherlands, Ireland, the UK, many states in the US, and coast to coast in Canada. From Newfoundland to the Yukon, I've met people with Lyme. it started, I made the positive pickle because I gave a Lyme to a little 6-year-old in a bag, and he said, "Oh, a pickle." He was all excited. And then I had to explain to him what it was all about. So lying in bed, I got to thinking about little Cal. And I thought I should make that little man a pickle. So that's how the pickle appeared. And then I wrote a little story to go with the pickle, which I can read to you. It's called A Crocheted Act of Support. I'm not lost. I've been waiting for someone to find me that needs my help. Emotional support pickle. I'm not just any ordinary pickle. I'm now your positive pickle. I would like to tag along with you to help support and remind you when things get tough. Always remember, and you can repeat this and know that it is true. I am beautiful. I am smart. I love myself. I am lovable and huggable. I can do hard things. I try my best. Give me a squeeze and know that you are loved.
Next up, we have our What Is section, where curiosity leads the way. We've gathered clips that break down big ideas like biohacking, quantum biology, and other fascinating bioenergetics tools. These moments help explain what these concepts really mean and how they're shaping the future of wellness. Whether you're brand new to the terms or already experimenting, these insights will spark fresh ways to think about your own health and energy.
So acupuncture, if we talk about it from a traditional system, we're going to talk about the meridians, the channels that run up and down the body, that not only tell us where this energy is flowing, but they give us information to the inside of the body. The signs and symptoms of diseases, where we're strong, where we're weak, how we're doing emotionally, all of that through thousands of years of what I'll call research. Chinese practitioners put this together and developed this system. So when somebody's out of balance, when something's wrong, our body is giving us all this information constantly. And us as practitioners are trying to string that all together, a bunch of mild signs and symptoms in some cases, to kind of steer the course and have that body enter homeostasis again. Now we do that by putting the needles in and saying we're correcting the flow of energy.
To hear a little bit more about some of your favorite biohacking, bioenergetics type of tools that you've used.
Well, what's interesting too about all these things we're doing. It's this combination of technology, but then we're actually trying to replicate nature in so many ways, right? If we get an earthing mat, we're trying to replicate our bare feet on the ground, and that incredible benefit of that. Or light therapy is essentially the sunlight we're not getting. Certain hyperbaric oxygen or ozone, is actually, it's much more powerful, but it's similar to just getting enough oxygen and you're probably getting circulation as well as that we would get from exercise and movement. Lymphatic drainage, same thing with movement, exercise, sweating. So it's so great to have all these things, but it's also good to always remember that we have a lot of this available for us, to an extent, for free as well. And so I think there's so much out there, but it's so important to just maintain, do what you got to do for your sleep hygiene, get up in the morning and do what you need to do for, whether that's getting outside, getting movement, sunlight, grounding, eating right, hydrating, minerals. Those are your core things that really, if you're not doing that, don't go buy a bunch of supplements. Don't go, spend a bunch of money on one treatment or one infrared light bed or something if you're not going to do the basics, because your body really needs all those basics, and you can do that.
And quantum biology really is just the study of quantum phenomenon that we used to think was isolated to a lab, like electron tunneling or coherence, or the ability of a quantum particle like a photon of light to take multiple paths. And so quantum biology is the study of those phenomenon in living systems, and it includes circadian medicine, light therapies, sound therapies, frequency medicine, emotional frequencies, and how that impacts our biology. And Heather, it's so incredible because our medicine right now is so reductive. And if we think we're at the height of medicine right now, that's a really frightening thought, right? Because we're in multiple epidemics. And the beautiful thing about quantum biology is once you start looking at the flow of electrons, the flow of protons, how photons of light interact with our biology, you start to see a picture of interconnection that spans not only within our body, but to the people in our lives, to the plants in our lives, to the earth, and really to the universe, right? If we think about that cosmic radiation hitting our ionosphere and creating a flow of electrons that travels from plants to animals to every person on the planet, we start to see a beautiful picture of interconnection. And so I've never really left the quantum biology room because it is so fascinating, and it opens up a picture of medicine that includes everything on earth. And I think that's really where we need to be headed with medicine, instead of this boxed out medicine of, this is this therapy and this is that organ and this is this cell. It really connects everything into a beautiful fabric of life.
Ultimately, what I started to understand, and I think this is the language of this community, right, around this kind of bioenergetic way of operating, is that our DNA, and there's data, scientific data on this, that our DNA is our antenna. And indigenous people have been talking about DNA for a very, very long time. They talked about it in their creation myths around serpents and snakes and these ideas. And you look in indigenous art, even Egyptian art, and you look at the snakes, right? Like the healing snakes that are in the staff, right, that are used to represent healing and medicine. All of those are connected to this idea of DNA, and DNA transmits and receives information. And that is a lot of how we are experiencing a lot of this vibrational healing, which I really think is the future of medicine, frankly.
Favorite expressions comes from one of our classical texts, and it sounds so meaningless until you become an acupuncturist and you do it for 20 some odd years, and then you're like, no, that's the heart of it. Acupuncture is an expression of humanity. And really what we're trying to do is restore that humanity to that patient on the table, but it's that interaction. So you come see me versus your acupuncturist Hugh. I'm not trying to convert you. There's no reason to fly out to Baltimore. But that interaction is going to be different with me than it is with him. And that's going to be different with every other practitioner. And hopefully all of those practitioners have that humanity that is helping that patient that's on that table. And I know I'm talking very esoteric and very kind of floaty, but that's the core of it. That's the philosophy.
I got to heal this disease. I got to get over this, all these symptoms that I've got. What do I do? It's more like we all need to just optimize our biology, and let's just learn. This is information. This pain, these symptoms are incredible information that, thousands of years of evolution telling you something really important about what's going on. And can we listen to that and then say, I need to invest some more time in learning about my biology, how it works, and where is my liver, and where are these organs, and exactly how are they functioning, and how do I optimize them, and then utilize. And when you look at it that way, then you do start kind of looking at it like, I can play with all of these things that are available, especially the biohacking tools, like you said, because this gets to a point where your optimization is not that far away, especially with these incredible tools that are really frequency and vibrational. And as Dr. Drobot says, we're moving from chemistry to physics in medicine, and we can deliver, energy directly to the cell rather than just kind of trying to always stimulate a reaction in the body through nutrition or IV therapy. All those are great, but like now that we've got energy therapies, we're bypassing that and going right into the cell.
So there's loads of energy, but we have to think of ourselves not as the kind of mass of meat that we think of ourselves, or machine as medicine thinks of us, but as this dynamical, energetic entity. And that's what we are. And we also are not a separate entity. because my subatomic particles are trading energy with yours and every other thing, it's very difficult to say where we end and something else begins.
If you go on Pinterest or you go on Instagram and you search for cupping charts, you're going to see a whole bunch of things. If it's darker, there's more blood stasis, more stagnation. Oh, that means there's more. They'll use the term sha, and that comes from gua sha, which is scraping. Gua means to scrape, sha means sand. So when we do gua sha, the adhesions in the fascia kind of feel like you're going over sandpaper, which is where that name came from. Now, it's not exactly sha in the traditional sense because you're not doing a technique to draw sha up. I would say in some cases it is more stagnation. In some cases there is a psycho-emotional component, like maybe you covered the heart area or the lung area and there's sadness, there's grief, there's lack of sleep. There could be physical symptoms in that area too. The muscles are just tighter. Sometimes it comes down to a function of how many superficial blood vessels are there. Did you just move that part of your body so you have more circulation there, right?
Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt, from the beginning of my mentoring with him in 2006, has always said that we need physics-based interventions in our protocol. So that could be light, sound, vibration, frequency. I think ultimately those will be the bearers of many solutions to our chronic health challenges. I personally still use the Wave 1 on a regular basis for ongoing maintenance, detox, for microbial support, Lyme support. Excited about the things that are coming in with the NIKKI as well, where we can use that tool for energy, stress, anxiety, insomnia, pain, allergies. And I know that's something that the team is continuing to expand with the introduction of new frequency sets. And so, every time there's a new frequency set, I'm kind of like, ooh, Christmas morning. It's like, really, really cool to be able to explore these things. I also think tools like PEMF and photobiomodulation, things in the physics realm, so important.
As we wrap our 100th episode, don't forget to visit wearenikki.com/podcast to enter for a chance to win your own Nikki Wellness technology, plus our signature wellness program, an exclusive package valued at $598 USD. Thank you for tuning in to the 100th episode of Bioenergetics Beat. 100 stories, 100 sparks of energy, and one powerful community. Each of you is part of this milestone. As we close this chapter and open the next 100 episodes, we invite you to take a deep breath with us, just as Sachin Patel guided us back in episode 23. Feel the frequencies of possibility, restoration, and joy, because this moment isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. Until next time, stay curious, stay vibrant, and keep the beat of bioenergetics alive. From all of us here at We Are NIKKI and Bioenergetics Beat, thank you for making 100 possible. Here's to 100 more. Our next collection, oh my gosh, Jeremy, tongue-tied. The frequencies that stayed with them long after the episode ended. Starting over, Jeremy. Wended. Good God. Okay, 1 minute. These wellness moments. Yeah. So are you guys ready? Let's have a sippy sip.
Sound good?
Yeah.
So I'm going to start off with just a quick little introduction, and then we'll go into your background. Hey, who are you? What do you do? And we'll go from there. All right. Oh, and we're already started. I've already been recording this whole time. So this poor guy's going to have to, the poor editor's going to have to be like, yuck, yuck, yuck.
From the We Are NIKKI team.
Let me just fix my screen quickly.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know why
you look amazing.
And we'll get this party started. I'm Heather Gray, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and certified bioenergetic practitioner. And today's episode is brought to you today by NIKKI. I'm going to start over. It's all right. Getting tongue-tied.
Jeremy, you can put this on your blooper reel. co-infections, and mold illness. Hang on a second. I'm just going to start over because I second guessed myself. 1 second.
Okay. You did great. You sounded great.
Thanks. Welcome. I got like the other girls in the office are like my little like audience today. Sorry. I'm thirsty.
Yeah, no, you're doing great.
And we dive into the, we're going, oh my gosh, I have to start this one over. Stop.
Is there anything I have to do?
Oh, let's talk. You're good.
Okay.
Totally have no clue what I'm doing now.
We're not, I just got to get it set up. Jeremy, ignore this chaos, okay? We're all pivoting, and that is our specialty here, okay?
It is.
Share my screen. Part of the Lyme-less support group. Sorry. Okay, welcome back. Sorry. You'll heal, oh my word. You'll hang on. Yes, sorry. Okay. Zhuzhed it up a bit.
I tried.
Can you say zhuzh? Yeah, because it's not
Zhuzh.
Okay.
No, I wear all this to bed. And I wake up in the morning, they all go on a charger and they're all ready by the time I leave.
That's crazy.
So I'm always freaked out.
We know.
That is hilarious.
Fair enough.
And so it's all gadgets. There's lots of gadgets.
That's bombarded by information. We are bombarded. We get noise pollution. You get light pollution. No, I'm starting over. Ignore that, Jeremy. Is there something like a lot of Lyme customers? Got that, Jeremy? Give me a second here.
We need Miriam's like swearing bloopers.
I'm gonna make it happen. It's gonna be
the outtakes of this are hilarious.
Hey, I've got to take a call.
Okay, bye.
There are actually two different purchases. You have the Lyme.
Just saying.
So there's only room for one person with sass in here, and the name is not Stephen. Wait, it's still recording. Jeremy's gonna be like, "What the hell?"
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Jeremy will cut that out.
Yeah. I live in a gated apartment complex, and he was servicing my AC unit. I forgot to let him out.
Don't hold the locals hostage, Heather.
I know. Give me 1 minute.
Add Heather kidnapping people to the blooper reel.
Yeah, right. He's like, I can't get out. I was like, oh crap.
He's like, Senorita.
Like, un momento.
Be well and have a great day. And we're done.
So done.
Rally, you guys. Good night, nurse. You were here the whole time, Jeremy. Sorry about it. Not sorry.
There's a new word for wellness, NIKKI. NIKKI is your personal wellness companion, a sleek wearable device that lets you choose from a variety of programs to match your day. With a simple tap on the NIKKI screen, you can explore wellness programs created for different moments and lifestyles. Need a lift? Select energy. Looking to unwind? Tap stress and anxiety. Want to feel more at ease? Choose pain. Heading out on a trip? Try travel to help you feel ready for new adventures. From busy mornings to quiet evenings, NIKKI puts a variety of wellness experiences right at your fingertips and on your wrist. Life moves fast. NIKKI moves with you. It's a portable way to bring wellness technology into your everyday routine, wherever life takes you. Your day, your choice, your wellness program. NIKKI Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency-enhanced health. WeAreNIKKI.com. The views, information, and opinions expressed in this content are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of FreeMedica. FreeMedica Technologies, Inc. and its employees are not responsible, nor verifies accuracy any of the information contained in the following content. The primary purpose of this content is to educate and inform. This content does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services.